Hi everybody, it's Eric with PVCMe.us. Welcome back. On this video we're going to make a 24 by 24 spinning sign on a double base architecture. If you look at up under tips and tricks on the PVCMe.us website, you'll find a whole video on this double base architecture that goes through this particular configuration, the double base, and the concrete double bases that I use for a lot of these signs. But for now, this is the sign we're going to build today. This double base is not in this video. It is on the website though, so if you'll go to the website and look up a double base, you'll be able to build this, and then you can mount your sign in it, and this thing sit up on the sidewalk or the grass or anywhere you want, spins in the wind, attracts attention for your customers for whatever product you're promoting. So here we go. First thing we're going to do, there's a hole drilled through this piece, a hole drilled through this piece, and a hole drilled through the top piece. And then there's 1 1/4 inch by 4 inch eye screw that goes in this part and in this part. Then there's a stiff hanging wire that runs down through the middle of your sign, and that's what your sign actually spins on. And then at the very bottom, there's a vinyl washer that allows your sign to spin without having any conflict with the actual PVC pipe. First thing first, you should mark the center of the 3 pipes that you've got to cut. You can't see it from there, but I've already got a red dotted line all the way around this pipe. This is 25 inches long, so that's 12.5 inches. I've marked that pipe all the way around. Now I'm going to take these 2 5 1/4 inch pieces, and I'm going to do the same thing. That is, mark them at 2 5/8, which is half of the 5 1/4. And I'll mark that all the way around the center of that pipe. And then I'm going to put the fittings on the end of these pipes. And the fittings allow me to stand that project so that I can get my drill to go straight down through both layers of the pipe, and I've got my hole in a line. If these 3 holes don't line up, your project is not going to spin. Your wire will be crooked and the whole thing won't work. So it's very important that you get this center right. That's why I like to do it before I put the fittings on. So it looks like I've got everything primed up, so we'll get started. This bottom piece, you'll notice that these T's go this way, and on the next piece up, you'll notice that the T's go this way. So it's important that you build these differently, or else the sign will not come together. Glue these up real quick, and I'll show you how we drill the holes, and then we'll start assembling the whole sign. Again, it's important that your project be flat, so you keep that one down on the table. Push the other one on. Whack. You got part number 1. Remember, this one is going with the T's going the other way, so make sure you glue up the right hole in your fittings. Again, very important that the project remain flat, so I'm going to hold that one flat on the table, and I'm going to slide this one over the end of the pipe, push it on as far as I can, make sure the whole project is flat. There you see the second pipe. Last is the top piece that runs across there, and that's going to have 2 90s on it. So I'm going to glue those up. Make sure we get them set properly. So again, this is where you hold your project flat on the table. You work the end of the fitting over the pipe. You make sure both pieces are flat down. Push that one on as far as you can. Double check. You go. We're good there. Set that one, double check it, and that is good, and that is our 3rd piece. We're going to grab a scrap piece of wood and put it on the workbench, because I don't want to drill into my work table. And then, as you can see, because I've got fittings on these pipes now, they don't roll. It's going to allow me to put these fittings flat on the work surface, and that gives me the opportunity to find the center of these pipes and drill my holes straight down through. And I know that most likely, as long as I keep a good tight on it, that it's going to be straight up and down, and when I put the project together, that hole is going to be straight up and down where I need it. Let me grab my drill. So I've got my dotted red line all the way around the pipe, so no matter how I assembled the pipe and the fittings, I know where that center line is. I don't have to go looking for it. So then I find as close as I can to the center of the pipe this way, and I am going to drill a hole. Now I only go through the very top piece of the pipe to start with, and then I back out, and then I'm going to go back in, and I'm going to very carefully make sure my drill is straight up and down and drill that second hole. There you go. Got one hole down, 2 to go. Same thing here. I've got the fittings set flat on my work surface. I've got the dotted red line there. I'm going to find the middle of the pipe, and I am going to drill my first hole through there. If you keep going straight through, odds are very good you're going to end up with a crooked bottom hole. So if you back out, come back out, and you get a good eyeball on it, then you should be able to go down for that second one. And there's 2 down, 1 to go. Again, I've got the dotted red line where I've already marked it. I'm going to find the center of that pipe as close as I can, and I'm going to drill that first hole, and then I'm going to go back in, and I'm going to make sure my drill is lined up, and I'm going to drill that second hole. And there you go. I've got all 3 holes drilled and all 3 parts. Next thing I'm going to do is take a razor knife and clean up these holes a little bit. So the first thing we're going to do is assemble this double base architecture down here. So we've got this piece at the top. We've got 4-inch spacers in here, and then this piece. So we'll start with our 4-inch pieces, glue them in. And we'll glue the top portion on there. And there you've got basically what amounts to the double base architecture right there. Next, we're going to add the 2 side pieces on here, and then we're going to put the 90s on. It's important that you remember the 90s go up. So once we get these side pieces on, we'll double check and we'll make sure we get our 90s going in the right angle. So now you've got your basic double architecture. We're going to mount the 2 uprights, put the top on it, and then we're going to go ahead and install the hardware and the sign. So I'm going to glue up both of these 90s, and we'll insert our uprights. Glue up the 90s on the top piece. I'm going to stand it up and assemble this. I'm going to set it off to the side so I can get a little firmer area to pound on. And there you go, minus the legs, which we'll put on in a second. you've got the assembly part. Go ahead and stick our legs on real quick, and then we'll do the hardware. Alright, so now we're going to start to assemble the hardware. First thing we're going to do is put in our eye bolt in the top and the bottom. You're going to run that eye bolt through where the actual eye is facing down from the top. You're going to use that to suspend that wire from, and we are going to leave that down a little ways so that as we tighten it, the screw eye will get drawn up and it'll pull this wire tighter and tighter. So we're going to start with that down about a 1/2 inch. I've got one 1/4 inch nut on there. I'm putting on a lock washer, and then I'm going to put on another 1/4 inch nut. And what that does is the lock washer is split and it's separated a little bit. And so once you put two nuts together with a lock washer in between them, as the nuts push down, the lock washer expands and it acts like a spring, and it keeps the two nuts from coming apart. So it'll stay locked together, hence the name lock washer. So on the bottom we're going to do the other one. We're going to put in this eye bolt at the very bottom, again with the eye bolt facing up towards the sign. And again we're going to put one nut on there and run that up to where there's about a 1/2 inch of the threads showing out of the top of the pipe, like that, so that when we get our wire in place and our sign in place, we can tighten that nut on the bottom and it will draw that screw eye down and make it tighter and keep that wire really taut so your sign will spin the way you want it to. So set that second lock washer and the second nut on there just so that we've got everything in place. Take my hanging wire here. This is 31.5 inches long of hanging wire, and my needle nose pliers, and I am going to bend a hook in the top of that wire. Because it's a really stiff wire, that hook is not going to come undone. One thing I've got to make sure is that hook that I've just bent there is open enough to go over that 1/4 inch eye bolt, and it does, fits perfectly. So next thing you're going to do is take your sign and you're going to measure across the top of it, and this is a coroplast sign. You might be familiar with this. This is like corrugated cardboard, except this is corrugated plastic. So this has little ribs running all down it. So you grab your red marker and your tape measure, pull it out, find the middle of your sign, and you're going to mark the middle of those hollow ribs. That's going to allow you to know where to put the wire down. It needs to be the middle or your sign won't swing. It'll be lopsided and it's not going to fit inside this frame. So I've got the middle marked. I've got the hook bent on the top. I'm going to drop that wire down through the middle of the sign itself. Now you can see I've got it on there, right? So next thing I'm going to do is take my vinyl washer and I'm going to put it over the wire, because I'm going to put that wire through the bottom hole, and then I am going to hook this hook on the top eye bolt. And now I have, basically my sign's sort of done. What I've got to do now is bend a hook in the bottom of that wire, and then I'm going to hook that hook over the bottom eye bolt, and at that point I can start tightening up each end, and it's going to pull that wire tight, and that's going to allow your sign to spin. I'm going to bend a hook in that corner, in that, there you go. So I've got a hook on this end and a hook on this end, and I've got my vinyl washer in place. I'm going to double check and make sure my sign spins properly. Looks good. So now I'm going to go ahead and tighten up these nuts and the lock washer, That also keeps the hooks from coming off of the lock washer or off of the eye bolt. And once I've got it as tight as I think I would like to have it, then I'm going to tighten that second nut down on top of that lock washer. And there you go. You have a spinning 24 by 24 on a double base architecture. And really the only thing you probably should have done before putting a sign on here would be to paint this thing. This is one where you have to assemble the sign the same time you finish it up. So if you are going to paint it, you paint it and then you install the wire and the hooks and all that, and you make it like that. There's a 24 by 24 spinning, a double base sidewalk sign. Don't forget to like and subscribe. That way you'll catch all the new videos as they come out. Thanks for watching.